A few. So a couple of thoughts that I had that I wanted to share real quick before we go forward. Got so many fun things tonight. Tonight's going to be a fun night. Not that the other ones haven't been, but it's going to be fun. Okay, let's go back to Daniel 10. No, we're not going to go there. I'm just going to, Revelation 10. I'm going to read something to you, and I'm going to just share some thoughts that I didn't then. When I think of some of these things after the fact, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought that up, you know. So, the nice thing about getting together again is I get to bring it up, right? So, Revelation, I mean, it's like when you do the intensives, you don't get the chance to. I get Friday night and all day Saturday, and if I don't get it in Friday night and Saturday, it's just not there, right? Which, by the way, simple plug, I have a website called beastheadlines.com. If you go out there and sign up, it's hit and miss. It's not one of those things I dedicate my life to. But as I see things that play into the system of the beast, I update that and it sends out notifications. So, for example, because Jesus was the one that told us, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet sitting in the holy place where it ought not, then start executing your plan, right? So Jesus told us to watch for the beast. He didn't say, you know, he said, when I come, you're going to know it. That's what he said, right? But he said, watch for the beast, right? So I don't think we're supposed to get fixated, and it's not like it's supposed to be like a religious practice of some kind, but I think we are supposed to be alert. Having said that, we know that we're reaching, based on what we've seen so far, we know that when the beast man is revealed, Daniel chapter 11, we know that he only has 1,290 days from the time that his image is set up in the holy place. We know that from that point, he has 1,290 days to rule. And we know that by the 1,335th day, Daniel chapter 11 again, we know that by the 1,335th day, his rule is done. So, when the abomination of desolation is set up in the holy place, which we don't have a holy place yet, so we're still watching for that, but when it is indeed set up, we know that we've got 1,290 days. That's the countdown. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why Jesus told us to watch for it. Because it's one of those things that's key in Scripture. It's not going to be easy to miss, right? Jesus said it's going to be a global event. He said, when you see the abomination, Matthew 24:14 or 24:15, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet sitting where it ought not, then let him who's on the roof not come down, let him who's in the city flee to the mountains, let him who's in the field not go back into the city, right? So we know that when it happens, it has to be a population of individuals that can be on a rooftop, out in the country, and in the city, and simultaneously see something happen. That's our generation. Could never happen before us. Having said that, Jesus made this point, when you see, which means that we will see. We're going to know it. We're going to see it. It's going to be on CNN, MSNBC, whatever. We're going to see it. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be trending. You're going to get a text that says, have you seen this? And your friends that thought you were stupid for studying the end times are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're right. And they're going to text you if you didn't see it, and you're going to have this conversation like, right? So I wanted to read some scriptures to you that kind of point back and draw some things together between Revelation and Daniel. So Revelation 10:7 says, but in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, remember that was them putting the trumpet up to the mouth, getting ready to take a breath, the mystery of God should be finished as he has declared to his servants the prophets. And then, in Daniel 9:27, it says this, and the prince that will come will confirm the covenant for many for 1 week, which we said was 7 years. And in the midst of that 7-year period, he'll cause the sacrifice of oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations, he will make it desolate. This is where the abomination of desolation comes in. This is the Daniel 9 scripture that talks about abomination of desolation, and it's talked about again in Daniel chapter 11. Even until the consummation and that which determined at the end, it says, and then it says this, and that determined shall be poured out upon the desolate. So here's what Daniel says. Daniel says there's going to be a time where the abomination of desolation is obvious. This man who's the beast man is going to set himself up in the holy place. He's going to declare himself to be God. It's going to be visible to the world. It's going to happen. And at that time, that which has been determined will be poured out upon the desolate. In other words, people that are hopeless, upon them, those people that have no moorings, that have no foundations, that in essence have no value placed in life, those people, upon them will be poured out that which has been determined, it says. All right? When we look at the Revelation, we got to the seventh trumpet the other day. We were talking about how the seventh seal opened up the seven trumpets, and when we opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for the span of about a half of an hour, and then the first trumpet sounded. We get to the seventh trumpet, and we have this event now where we're getting ready to jump into the seven vials of God's wrath. The seventh trumpet begins the pouring out of the wrath of God on the world. And we'll talk about what that means next week. I don't know that we're going to probably get into it this week. We'll see how far we get, but I don't think we will. But this Daniel 9:27 scripture says that the beast man's going to be revealed. Then what's going to happen after that is punishment is going to be poured out. It says he will cause the sacrifice to cease, and for the overspreading of abomination he will make it desolate. In other words, the holy place, he'll make the holy place desolate, even until the end, and that which is determined will be poured upon the desolate. So in Daniel we have a prophecy talking about how God is going to pour something out upon the desolate. And in the Revelation we also have now the seven vials of God's wrath, which he pours upon the desolate. So you've got an Old Testament scripture and New Testament scripture that go hand in hand that are talking about the same thing. I just thought I would tell you. So that's Revelation 10:7 and Daniel 9:27 if you want to go check it out on your own. Okay, so there was that. We talked about the two witnesses last week. The dead prophet Cam. For 3.5 days, their bodies will lay in the streets of Jerusalem, and the world will watch. And they will be so excited that these guys are finally dead that they will give each other gifts. They will scream and they will shout and they will celebrate. It will be like New Year's Eve all over the world for 3.5 days. People will be partying, getting toked up on drugs, getting drunk, having sex, doing their thing, just having a good old time because they think that everything is finally done. We no longer have to deal with these guys that have been tormenting us with this stupid religious junk. And after 3.5 days, they're going to pop up off the street and everybody's going to freak. Because while they're on camera, they're going to be taken up into the air and they're gone. We talked about the possibility that it could be either Enoch and Elijah. Enoch and Elijah are the only two people that we know of in Scripture that have not yet died. Enoch, it says that he was a friend of God and he was no more because God took him. And we have Elijah who was carried away in human form in a chariot of fire, or a chariot with horses of fire. So we know that Enoch and Elijah are two humans that are still in human form. There's always the possibility that Moses is the other one. And if you go look at Jude and you read the account of Moses, Scripture says that God buried Moses. And so, from my vantage point, God can bury him whenever he wants to, right? But we know that there was a big kerfuffle about Moses' body because in the book of Jude it says that there was a battle and that Michael he battled over the body of Moses and battled Satan directly for it. So there's a reason why Satan wanted his body. We don't know why, it doesn't say, but we do know that he did. So I think there's a slight possibility that one of the two witnesses could be Moses, and that, beg your pardon, let me shut that off, and that God, when it says that God buried him, that might be, this is just totally Buck. I don't have any reason other than my own imagination to tell you this, so I'm going on record as stating that. I'm kind of a sci-fi kind of guy. Like, it's not hard for me to believe that God somehow buried Moses in the year 2027, right? I mean, God's God, he can do what he wants to do. So we'll find out. At some point, we'll find out what these guys' names are. If we're around, there's no way around getting to see these guys in action, because the Scripture says that, we just read this last week, that their ministry here on earth is for